Hi there, everybody. This is Mark Bromley, your favorite author and artist of the Yoranthium book series. Remember to subscribe, click the bell, and give me a likes on the videos so I can make a whole bunch more because I have a lot of artwork. Today we are showing you a 1990s production of the Caduceus Ankh that I did over at Western State University. You know, I had my advisor, he was also one of my art teachers. His whole thing, whenever I did artwork around him, is that he kind of like cracked the whip. He wanted me to work fast and quick, really fast, really quick. This is actually on poster board and it's acrylic paint, and it's the Caduceus Ankh. It's an ankh with a little red cross and a couple of intertwined snakes, creating the DNA pattern that you see here. And one of the things he always wanted me to do is be faster and faster and faster. And I thought, well, might as well show you the Caduceus Ankh. At that time, we were doing uh, a lot of Greek studies, a lot of historical studies, philosophical studies at the time, along with the art classes, art history. These are the things that went hand in hand with art and the fundamentals of art. And anyways, this is basically the Caduceus symbol, roughly, with no wings, of course. And this was actually, I believe, Hermes. I believe that was the deity, if I'm not mistaken, uh, out of Greek mythology. This was part of his staff, without the wings, of course. But it's basically a medical thing, and it's an ankh, and it means for life and the preservation of life and studying things like that. And that's part of the study at the time. It was kind of interesting because a lot of this work had to be done really quick, and I brought this up because I saw this person sit there and spend 8 months sculpting a female form, and they condensed it into an 8-minute video. And I thought how odd and how strange it is that a person would spend 8 months just for an 8-minute video on YouTube with their creation that took over 8 months. Sometimes artwork and creation of artwork, such as the Yoranthium book series, does take a very long time to produce. Art does take a lot of time to actually truly produce. Otherwise, you get really simplified in simple forms of art, such as the Ankh, which this itself was probably painted in about 15 minutes tops, and probably a lot quicker than that. But you know, there's a lot of symmetry to this design. The Ankh itself is very much a freehand drawing, but as you can see, it's almost nearly balanced on both sides. Nearly balanced. Not perfect, but nearly balanced. No rulers, no measurements. This is just hand-eye coordination by the artist themselves, actually matching up two sides of an image that is repetitive on both sides. Nowadays, with a computer, I can actually cut this in half just by drawing half of the Ankh and then just flipping it over and putting it together, and then I get it pretty much even. And but back in the day, we didn't have computers. We didn't have fancy computers in the 1990s. We didn't get fancier computers until 1995. And then we still had to wait until the 2000. I tell you, when I was going to art school, the greatest computerized, digitalized art program was actually on the Nintendo system, and it was Mario Paint. That was the best painting system that you could actually relatively get for relatively low cost. All you had to do is just get a Nintendo system, Mario Paint, and then you're on your way to graphic arts in computer technology. Uh, because you know AutoCAD was just recently released back around the 95, 93 area, and it was on floppy disks. The AutoCAD was, and when you try to use that program, it was a lot more complicated than you think. Trying to draw images and render images off of that, which could be very time consuming back then. Anyhow, this is drafting knowledge. This is basically a good quality artist right there. You can see the balance of the symbol, and it's the Ankh. And I suppose, you know, if you really want to play it all out, you can start playing some funky music, believing that you're in this air tube car traveling down in this futuristic city where you've been ordered to break city seals and go out there and find sanctuary? Go ahead in the comments. Let me know if you find sanctuary, because now you've seen the Ankh. So this is what you're looking for. Life. Go look for life. Go live life, actually. That's what the artist mostly does. And that's why the teachers of our Western state were wanting me to do it faster and faster and faster. But a lot of the other people that didn't go to art school, they take forever producing their art. And they try to brag about it, but they take a long time producing it. And it's like, well, art schools only teach you ways of doing things that you didn't consider before. So they just show you other techniques and other methods. They don't make you better. They just show you more things to do because they're just trying to crack a whip and make you fast. And fast actually decreases your quality in the art. It actually detracts because, constant repetitive uh, production of art quick and fast and sloppy is what actually happens in college. And I don't think a lot of art students actually get the benefit of college to the maximum because it takes a long time. Art classes are often twice or three times as long as any other course that you'll actually study. If you take an art course, you're going to be you will actually spend quite a bit of time, more time than any other major doing what your major is, because you actually have to hit the books, you have to study a lot. And this is why I got so angry at some of the really piss poor education that we're receiving here in North Korea, Colorado. Really piss poor educators who call themselves art teachers. They have their students, their little kids out there drawing on chalk, on the ground, on sidewalks, on walls, and doing graffiti work, which is just not art. It's just slop. Because, art, you want to preserve it. One of the biggest things about art is you're trying to preserve the philosophy behind your artwork, the ideas behind your artwork. That's what you're really trying to preserve. And this is why I got so angry on the campaign trail about a dirtbag educator that was a very dishonest principal down in the Lakewood school system of Jefferson County, uh, because she was abusing her children. And how did I notice this abuse? I noticed it through reviews, legitimate reviews of the piss poor quality of education that those elementary school children were receiving. They're only children, minor children. They're very young. They're sponges. They will soak up whatever you teach them. They will learn what you teach them. And they were doing in the bottom third of all the schools of Colorado. They were in the bottom third. That school, Belmar. And it was in the bottom third, and they were failing in math. They were failing in science. They were failing in reading. Oh, but they're all supposed to be doing art, but they're not doing art because if you can't read, if you can't do any kind of math, if you can't know any kind of science, you're not doing art. You're not learning balance. You're not learning what asymmetry is. You're not learning what symmetry is. You're not being able to use words like Caduceus. And you're not able to understand that that's Hermes' staff from Greek mythology. You won't be able to understand that if you're not doing well at reading, if you're not doing well at math. You're not being inspired. Your imagination is not being fueled. If you cannot, math is reading. Reading is literature. Reading and math is knowledge. Science is knowledge. Art is the highest science. So when you start to understand those kind of concepts and how they go hand in hand in developing an image such as the Ankh, which is life, two snakes intertwined as a DNA symbol with a red cross and life, and Ankh is about life itself, about sanctuary, peace of mind, peace of life, the understanding, the comprehension of life itself. Life is not a big mystery. It's not a big question. It is what it is. And to feel that and to understand that does require a higher bit of knowledge. And what offended me the most is this failure principal, this terrible educator. It doesn't matter what degrees you give them. If they have so many degrees that they're a PhD of bullshit, a PhD of lies, a PhD of bad leadership, of bad education, or even a master's degree in bad education as a principal over at this Belmar school, a terrible person who sees their children not as Americans but as foreigners because of the globalist concepts. Anyways, I won't get into the whole entire debate here right now because it was awful what this person was claiming to be an artist when they have no idea what real art is if they're not teaching math, reading, and science. Even as a child, when I was very, very young and I started doing my artwork, I was very creative, very inventive. And it's because I read a lot of books. I read really fast, I read really quick. I read a lot of books. I spent a lot of time at the library here locally. Now that library's gone because they closed it down because the same failed principal does not believe in knowledge, doesn't believe in teaching. It believes in programming. And in order to indoctrinate, program, and groom people, you have to keep them stupid, make them dependent on you, because that's what the false religion of government needs. Stupid people to believe in it as a form of government. This is how you lose your independence, through ignorance, through failing in math, through failing in reading, through failing in science, failing in true knowledge. Destroys art and destroys everything else. To her, art is just a bunch of pretty shapes. Without the pretty shapes, she can't understand nothing. And it's obvious on the city council meetings, YouTube after YouTube after YouTube city council meeting of the North Korea, North Glen, Colorado. You can see this garbage happening right now in real time. And this bad educator being constantly promoted because she's stupid. And it shows and reflects at her Belmar school. Low scores in math, low scores in reading. It's like the problems of the 80s and the 90s of the inner city schools. And she was part of those inner city schools because she's connected right to it. And she's just festering those same problems. And I think I wanted just to illustrate that because I was kind of wondering why it took a person 8 months to do a sculpture when in fact in my college they were trying to crack the whip and make us do it rather quick. And I do realize that, if you take your time, art does turn out a lot better. But if you rush it too much, then you get like people like Commander Mark in The Secret City from PBS. Or you get the artwork of Bob Ross. Yes, Bob Ross is highly skilled, but if you try to do his artwork through his methods, you'd have to find out that every single one of those paintings, he actually spent hours, over 8 hours a day, maybe 12 hours, 16 hours a day, just to come up with a 30-minute segment of a painting that he could show you in 30 minutes because he had to practice it. He had to practice that painting first before he actually did it. And when you really go into there and you start to see that in that 30-minute show that Bob Ross did, he actually spent over 16 hours going over what he was actually trying to paint within 30 minutes, what he could show you in 30 minutes. And I myself have tried that myself many, many times in many, many techniques, all because of the frustration of my advisor over at Western University cracking the whip, telling me to go faster and faster and faster. I did go faster. I did do my work a lot quicker, but I was never really happy doing it that quick because, the art struggle of actually coming up with imaginative ideas and solutions is always a big trick in the art world. Because are you tricking yourself? Are you tricking somebody else? Are you creating an optical illusion for those around you? And you don't want to be fooled, and you don't want to miss any detail that might be critical to making your painting better or making your artwork better or making your sculpture better. Now, one thing I did know, and this is the biggest problem that I saw here in Adams County when I applied to a couple of cafe programs, that I was discriminated against because I didn't fit the cult of woke Disney and Hollywood hiring standards for Adams County's arts. Uh, Instead, I talked about this in an earlier video. Instead, they went and got somebody that was a complete schmuck who sat down with one person and had them use a clipboard on a holy table outside picnic table. And they used really bad supplies to do paintings and artwork. They missed the whole entire point of the being of an artist. And the purpose of the artist is to create artwork that perseveres through time. When an artist creates something, the whole thing is that that artwork will be around for centuries. That's what they're trying to work on, permanence, the permanence of the artwork. This requires a lot of knowledge, a lot of skill, a lot of reading, a lot of math, a lot of science, because there's science in the very strata of art supplies. The way that the pigments are used, the powder, the vehicle that the powder is put into in order to convey the color of the images that you're going to create. How long will that image take? It's like, for instance, understanding the history and the knowledge of why tempera paint needs to be reworked quite frequently and quite often in order to preserve things like the Sistine Chapel. That artwork in the Sistine Chapel on the ceiling, it's not going to last forever because some of the techniques that they use are high in iron. Iron content in a paint will cause it to blacken over time. And so it needs to be restored to the original color, which is a complicated process. And finding replacements for that tempera and still to keep it tempera paint is a complicated process because you want to remove the iron from it so it doesn't blacken in the future after you've done a resurfacing of it, after you've refixed the work. Anyways, it's a complicated process. And the only way you can actually do this stuff is by providing studio to learn. And that was the biggest thing that Adams County is a failure at in its art program because the only thing they are funding is graffiti and vandalism. On the sidewalks, on the ground. It's the same garbage the people I ran against in public office do at their messed up schools down in Jefferson County, Lakewood, Colorado. It's garbage. Every single thing she talks about is garbage, it's trash, it's just nonsense. And these are bad educators because their students are not getting the benefit of math, they're not getting the benefit of reading, they're not getting the benefit of intelligence. Art is the highest form of science. Make no mistake about that. You may not like my work because they didn't teach you to like my work. They taught you to learn like somebody else's work. Like comic books, those kind of things. Those were, back in the 90s, comic books were not really considered high art. They were considered low-grade art. But that's what a lot of people embrace these days because they're not taught to appreciate anything of a higher quality, anything that actually takes more thought. They're not taught to care about that because they're taught ignorance instead. See, you really have to appreciate these kind of values in the world of art, such as math and such as education. You have to understand the material that you're using in art because ultimately, in the end, you want your art to persevere through time. I'm actually quite satisfied with a lot of my artwork because a lot of my artwork, a bulk of it, like I have over 100 videos right now, so a bulk of my artwork has survived over 50 years. Well, I guess 30, give or take, 20 to 30 years. All right, 20 to 30 years. And 20 to 30 years, that's going to still be around for a century or more, even after I'm gone. So that's pretty good. That means that my art skills are good artwork is going to be that long. And that's what you should be working on, is understanding the preservation of your own artwork. How long will it survive? Some of my artwork has been through a flood. It actually flooded, and it got water damaged. And restoring it's not always easy because I don't always have the time to do my own restoration on my own work. But my work still survives because it's solid. When your work is solid, it will survive. And that's what happens. And so I'm showing you the Ankh to show you what quick art looks like, really fast art. This is driven by mythology and study of literature, of traditional literature, which is a high recommendation. And I recommend that every artist be literary, be a reader. If you claim to be an artist and you don't read, learn to read. You will enrich your artwork. If you're an artist, learn to do math. Do it well, because you're going to come up with measurements and designs that are going to help you. So math, know that. Literature, know that. Politics, know that. Science, know that. Don't take bullshit, and don't listen to crappy educators like that principal I ran against. That's some garbage. In North Korea, Colorado, education. That is real garbage. Don't listen to that. Do not listen to that. Enrich yourself. Grab a philosophy book. If you need to learn how to read, read. If you need to learn to read better. Actually, I was put into courses that forced me to be a better reader than every single kid around me. A quicker reader, a quick study of everything. It showed in my artwork because the teachers couldn't teach me. And I realized that my advisor, when he first said that he should just give us a diploma when we just came up there, just said, thank you for the money, here's your diploma, and let us go home. That's what he said. That was his comment. And I thought, at first it was kind of rude. It's just saying that they don't care if we're up there. They're not going to teach us anything. But then I realized maybe it's because they couldn't teach us anything. We already knew what we needed to know, because he aimed it at me, specifically aimed it at me, because my artwork was actually better than several of the educators and the teachers at the school itself. I should have been teaching the courses, because my quest for knowledge took me to all sorts of different sciences and different ideas and concepts, and they were giving me all sorts of different art histories, mythological histories, chemistry, physics, radio station, mass communications, radio station, yeah, theater, yeah, a lot of those things, yeah. There's a lot of ideas. When you become an art student, you're becoming a student of knowledge. That's what you really become, a student of knowledge. So you'll start to soak up all knowledge around you pretty readily and pretty easily and quickly, because that's what you do as an artist. You are knowledge itself. So do not listen to bad educators that tell you that you just do pretty shapes and pretty designs. That's an idiot teaching you. And that piss poor principal down in Belmar over in Jeffco should be fired, shit canned, and kicked out of the whole thing, and her tenure torn up and removed and stripped away from her, because she doesn't deserve it. The way she treats art is awful. It's terrible. And it's all about her. It's just about her. And she's using so many people so cruelly. Back in 2023, they used child slave labor to run their Democrat platform. They had them creating QR codes and fake deceptive websites of disinformation that they hijacked. The adults would hijack a few of them just to provide false information. And they used children, minors, to do their dirty work for adult elections. And this has been going on too long. We have to do some resolutions to not use children or minors as slave labor by any kind of adults, even adults who pretend to be educators. They shouldn't be using children at all like that. And it's shameful that we had people on the school board using minors for their as slave labor in their campaigns. It's just shameful. Anyways, I'm Mark Bromley. This is the Ankh. Do go out, go tell me if you found sanctuary. Put that in the comments if you found sanctuary, or there is no sanctuary. Okay. Well, okay, I shouldn't give that away, but there you go. There it is. This is the Caduceus Ankh, and it was a great work of art that I did in the 1990s, and it's just symbolic. It's a really simple symbolic shape. Given 15 minutes to do it, so it was not perfect, but it is nice, and it's pretty balanced as far as an image goes. Well, you have a great day. I hope this gives you some advice about art. I hope you do actually uh, start to rise your boundary of art and realize that it's based on math and science and reading and literature. And I hope you embrace that. Get my book, Yoranthium. Google Play. Go to my website. It's down below. You can also send me an email if you want to commission some work, some unique work. Let me know. And I'll talk to you later. You have a great day. Bye.